Hey everybody, we're with Exploring World History, lesson number 13. We're going to just give a quick little overview of ancient science and math and some of the contributing people to that. So, the history of science is a very fascinating part of the story of mankind, and it goes back for centuries. And discovery has always been a great experience for mankind as we have continued to have send out explorers and try to discover new things, and we continue to do so into space in current times. However, some of the ancient people were dealing with different things, and it starts with God equipping the human mind with the power of observation and analysis, right? Two key tools for science: analysis and observation. So two of the main contributors in ancient history to science and math were the Sumerians and the Egyptians. And we're just going to talk briefly about both of their contributions for just a few minutes. So we're going to start with the Sumerian contributions, okay? The one of the major contributions the Sumerians gave to the world, especially at their time, was travel. Specifically, the sailing ship, okay? Up until this point, everything was manual labor, rowing and different things. And so they were able to create the sailing ship for travel by sea. They could go much farther, they could go much quicker, and it gave them a great advantage over rowing. Also, they contributed some agricultural items as well. They were the first ones that we were aware of that used the yoke. They created a wheeled cart. And they had an engineering system of irrigation, which was forcing the water to the different places for their crops. They also had metal tools and weapons instead of wood weapons or stone weapons and tools. Copper was previously used, but in about 1600 BC, they started to use bronze. And they would blend tin with the copper, and it was a much more durable, harder material and would last a lot longer. They also gave us the Sumerians did the couple base number systems, okay? One was the base 10 counting system, 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, right? Well, you know the rest. Then they gave us the base 60 system, and you're like, what in the world is a base 60 system? And you don't usually want to think about it or call it that, but that's what it is. But we use it every single day, every minute, every hour. Did you get that yet? So every hour is broken down into 60 minutes. Every minute was broken down into 60 seconds. Okay, that's what we use still today. They also gave us 60 shekels equaled 1 mina, and 60 minas equaled 1 talent. They discovered and created the 360 degree for the circle, and they learned how to do these mathematical things that you guys, depending on whether you love math or hate math, may have wished they never figured out. But they learned how to calculate the area of a rectangle. They were able to find the length of the hypotenuse of a right triangle. Some of you excited about that, and some of you are like, oh my goodness, why? They had the concept of a square root and a cubed root, and they gave us our multiplication tables. They also contributed 7-day weeks, okay? They were able to use this math and the different things that they created in their calendar to predict eclipses and the movement of heavenly bodies, stars and comets and different things. So they gave us a lot of base information to go forth with and to utilize over the years, and it was very helpful. So let's move on to the Egyptians and some of their contributions. The first thing we want to talk about is the Egyptian calendar, okay? They gave us 365 days. They created 12 30-day months, and then they added 5 extra days at the end of each year. There was no leap year. They also created the sundial, which helped them tell time and be able to be more specific about what was going on. Some important factors in the medical field, scientifically, was embalming. Embalming turned into a very important science for them for religious reasons, but also gave us, in their process of doing it, they had to study the heart and the lungs and other body parts, and were able to come up with some cures for parasites and other things. And one of the things they discovered back then, which we would say is common sense, is that cleanliness was the best thing for cures. If you keep wounds cleaned, if you keep things treated, then guess what? They don't get infected. But back then, apparently, they didn't realize that until they were dealing with some of this stuff in their modern medicine. They kept huge books and records of stuff. They had first kind of scientific medical doctors books and things. But also the one thing, whenever you think about Egypt, is pyramids, right? And pyramids were engineering marvels. They still fascinate the world with how precise they are and how wonderfully made they were. But pyramids weren't the only engineering marvels that they created during this time with the early Egyptians. Some of the things, we'll just talk about a few, is obelisks, right? Any idea what that is? We have one, at least famous one here in the States. But an obelisk is a four-sided shaft often made from a single stone, and it was used back then to honor gods and a ruler. So if you think the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C., that's what we're talking about, okay? Also, they had the Temple of Amun at Karnak, which constructed over several hundred years. And it's one of the largest ancient religious sites in the whole entire world. It was 1,220 feet long and 340 feet wide and covers 10 acres. Again, just engineering feat. And the last one we're going to talk about just briefly is the Great Hypostyle Hall, which was a central worship area, had 134 huge columns and 70 feet high. So as you go through this, just kind of make sure you read the material and remember, two major contributors to math and science in the ancient world were the Sumerians and the Egyptians, and gave us a lot of things we still continue to use today. Thanks.